welcome to another episode of The Bottom Left Pane, where we delve into the extraordinary stories hidden beneath the surface. Today, we're joined by Jurate Wolfe, a multifaceted personality blending science with spirituality. As a human factors analyst at Kennedy Space Center, Jurate contributes to groundbreaking space missions like Artemis, while also embracing her role as an astrologer and holistic practitioner through her business, Empirical Mystic. Join us as we traverse her unique journey from Lithuania to the forefront of space exploration and how she integrates her deep understanding of human psychology with astrology and energy modalities. Discover how Jurate's passion for exploration, both of outer space and the inner psyche, creates a harmonious blend of science and mysticism, offering insights into the human condition and the cosmos. Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of The Bottom Left Pane. Today we have Jurate here. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and how you kind of exist in the universe.
I do so many things. So I call myself a people and system scientist, and that's, I think, defines me the best because everything I do, it evolves around humans. Ever since I remember myself, ever since really little girl, I was always very interested in everything. It has to do with human. I didn't realize that at that point yet, of course. So I just was led by curiosity. I was really, really blessed to have mom and parents in general who were really forgiving and allowing me to do that. So there was not really, oh, you have to be that, or that's a good profession, or another, or whatever. They had their opinions, but they never really pushed it. So I always sought out things, and I was really, really curious as a child as well, and I was really studious. So I was going through libraries, I was going to different schools, I was putting myself through the programs, and literally because I was looking for more. And everything what united is literally, I was interested in physics, I was interested in mathematics, I was interested in genome, not biology as a whole, genome, genome. I was interested in chemistry, but only organic. And everything what led me, of course, psychology, but psychology, I grew up in Lithuania. So I got here when I was 19 on my own, like everything else. Again, that thanks to my parents being so allowing and letting me do the things that I did on my own, and not fearing for me. Although I didn't really give them much choice too, but but that's sort of in my Astro DNA. And we'll talk, I guess, about that. So everything physics, quantum physics was extremely interesting to me. Physics in general, but for me, the general Newtonian physics really bored me. It was really easy. It was really bored me. And a lot of people, when I was in the high school, thought, I'm going to be a physicist because I took a electional exam of the, national electional exam in physics, and I just love physics, and I still continue to love it. But in hindsight, when I look back, it's always the same. It's always the same. It's always energy. It's always human. It's always what makes us tick. How do we function? Human psyche, all of that. And psychology, I started to study it when I was in high school. It was an electional at that point. It was very new in Lithuania, and so it was one of the first new cohorts to study psychology. So it's very difficult to get in. So that's how I got. That's who I am. And what I do right now, I do many, many things. So everything was connected to human. I do that. And I work at Kennedy Space Center as senior human factors analyst. And and I have my own business, Empirical Mystic, where I coach people to flow and alignment with their own potential and what they brought in here. And also research alternative healing modalities, which has to do a lot also with energy and all of that, bringing scientific method essentially to alternative modalities. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, first, wow, that's super diverse. You have all this, it sounds like you're just a powerhouse when it comes to science, right? So I kind of want to jump into a little bit about your role, right? So can you tell us a little bit about your role working on, different projects at the Kennedy Space Center, and what inspired you to enter in the field that you're in?
Mm-hmm. All right. So that might surprise you. I actually never dreamed of working for Kennedy Space Center. It's sort of I got there by invitation.
Okay.
No joke. I got there by invitation. So someone that I helped, well, I was working in energy sector. I was working for Siemens Energy as a global area at the time, finishing my PhD in human factors. So and someone that I helped out with work in Kennedy regarding human aspect said we definitely need you here, and they invited me to interview, and I got several panels of interview, and I got in, and that's it, and that's in 2018. So my dad, however, he wanted to be a cosmonaut, Russian cosmonaut, because of course we're in Lithuania. He grew up in USSR time, so he couldn't do that. He's an engineer actually, and my mom as well. But they're different engineers, not the space. And so he wasn't able to do that because of health. He wasn't even able to go to the competitions and do that because of his heart condition that he was born with. So, but it wasn't like a thing in our family that we would talk about space all the time, or none of those conversations were even present. So I just knew it. So somehow, like recently acknowledged that I was like, look, Dad, I somehow, working. I worked on the largest rocket, in the history of human mankind. We're launching essentially developed that rocket, right? So it's in a way subconsciously, somehow universe led me to fulfill that. And so my dad is very, very excited. Of course, we have a lot of conversations about that, but and just so that's how this happened. I always and everything in my life do with guidance. And I follow my passion. And that's my biggest advice, and one advice to everybody and every single person: to follow what you're passionate about, to go after what you're curious, because that's really what you're here for. You really need to enjoy and do what you love. And, if you're passionate about going and talking to people, I don't know, about water, you go and talk about water. You're going to talk about, about politics, to go and talk about politics. Whatever it is that you're passionate about, that's where you're here. Sometimes people get so confused by their parents, by their society, by what they're going to make money, what they're not going to make money. Right. That they get lost and they forget what they really are passionate about. So, so it's really, really good to look into what you would do if you wouldn't have to worry about the pay. What would you do? And then go and combine that, or at least start to look into it like from the hobby perspective, and usually you can combine it. So
yeah, first off, thanks for that message. I think 100% you're right about like just making sure you're following your passions, because regardless, like I feel like you're almost doing the world and yourself a disservice, right, by not taking the steps there, because there's only going to be just one you. And I feel like ideas that come and passions, like what's that book called? Is it The Creative Act, I think, by Rick Rubin? I'm not too sure, but there's this whole idea in the book that like ideas, they're universal, right? Like regardless, like when the idea is coming to fruition, that essentially like it's the idea's time to blossom, right? Regardless, if you don't do it, someone's going to do it. So at that point, you might as well kind of jump on it, right? But yeah, I kind of want to jump back a little bit. So you ended up here, working as an analyst. And did you have any role models or like influential figures who inspired you kind of on this journey, or did you feel like this was all you, just full speed ahead? Maybe you were your own hero.
No, I am not my own hero. I am led by universe. I'm really led by universe. A lot of people, life and death, inspired me. A lot. I am living on quotes. I'm living on biographies. I absolutely love people who live their life. There's I always say, like, who is love of my life is Einstein. He's the love of my life. Nobody will beat him because he's dead. Nobody even tries, right? So that's it. Nobody will replace him. So Einstein is absolutely, I love Einstein. And so literally there was a lot of people, but so I'm not going to mention all of them. There's always, everyone can learn something from.
Right.
That's how I go with meeting people as well. You can always learn from everybody. So especially when they're very, very successful people out there. So from the space people, I definitely love. I really, really like Richard Branson. He's my favorite space guy. And why I like him, it's because he's very genuine. He's playful. He's curious. He's led by passions. He loves people.
Mm-hmm.
I love him for that. And he does great things. He does absolutely great things. And all he did is accomplish by himself. So this is a live person. Einstein, I love for his curiosity, for his mind. He's so smart. And that's a big deal for me. Of course, everybody knows that. But he was also quirky. He was also quirky. And all these people who achieve a lot, they're unique. It's, everybody's unique. From the female is Marie Curie, actually. Marie Curie. So she got 2 Nobel Prizes, right? And she was the first female to get Nobel to begin with. And she experimented. I realized that recently that she did experiments on herself, right? And she really radiated herself. It's a really, really good documentary. Definitely recommend to watch.
Sorry, what was it called?
Marie Curie, Dr. Marie Curie.
Right, but what's the documentary called?
Oh, I don't remember. I forgot the title, but it's about Marie Curie life, about her life.
Right.
I think it's called Radioactive. I think that's how it's called, because she essentially invented. She didn't really invent. She discovered uranium.
Okay.
And started to use for radiation, essentially. So it saved a lot of lives. She literally discovered it. That metal didn't exist before her, and she did that in her own life. Like she didn't think, obviously, it's a poisonous material. She thought it's something else. So she radiated herself to death in the process. But but it's really, really unique. And her relationship with her husband, and she's like also a very unique personality, and I really like her as well, very, very much. So the documentary is new. I think it's last year came out or so. It's really good. Really good. I definitely recommend. The Einstein documentary is also really great. But if you really want to know about him, read his biography. That's a good one. He was a unique human being. Like, nobody is perfect, and none of the scientists are perfect. So there was always something to learn. You're a great scientist, but they might not be great dads, great moms, or whatever else. Maybe not the greatest relationship examples, right? So there's always people who inspire in different fields. So, and Dr. Carl Jung, he's a psychologist. He was actually a psychologist. He was Dr. Jung, so he's really one of the biggest ones. So from psychologist, it was him. And he's actually was astrologer and mystic as well. And he also analyzed dreams and great in psychoanalysis, and he was just one of the biggest ones out there in his time.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can see, first off, I talked about how you were a powerhouse. I can see where that comes from with all the inspiration behind all these big figures, right? So as a human factors analyst, could you share your contributions to some of the projects and explain like kind of how your work has impacted some of the stuff going on at the Kennedy Space Center?
Okay. Yes. So at Kennedy Space Center, since everything is made from scratch, essentially, it's there's no factory for rockets. We do everything from scratch, and everything is designed. So without telling more than I'm supposed to tell, generally I'm not alone. Of course, there is a whole team of human factors people there, and some not alone who is doing human factors. And we do have areas where we specialize in for specific, because it's, believe it or not, there was a lot that comes into building a rocket, and obviously several years, and not just building it and then powering it and making sure it goes, and then getting back and clearing up, and a lot of things, right? So everywhere there's humans are involved in everything. So that's where my expertise comes. I'm there since 2018, and so the rocket has not been even stacked. The first one wasn't even stacked. So, and of course we already got back the first one and cleared, and we're ready for the ones with human right now to go, right? So we're working on missions forward. NASA doesn't just work on one mission. We're already working on Artemis 1 and 2 and 3, which is Mars, right? So So all these missions have a lot to do with human, not just because human is on the board. That's a whole another level of scrutiny. And of course, a lot more human factors are involved as well. But a lot of human factors are involved also before that, since we're also putting a lot preparing the capsule and the way we had our mannequins, and this is public information, of course. So we had our mannequins that are really with a lot of sensors, and all kinds of information got back to us after the first, what is called test flight,
Right.
where they went around the moon, right? So we got all information, and that was informing what we're doing right now and preparing. And of course, we were well prepared before, but we we're also testing, making sure. And so human factors involved working with interdisciplinary teams. So there's all kinds of engineers, and meaning electrical, aerodynamic, chemical, mechanical, aerospace, human factors, safety, environmental, all these specialties, right? Fluids, because we have a lot of toxic and explosives, right, all the time, and in every single section. Until working together, and my responsibility is to look at the human aspects of the whole process, or whatever that's being done. It could be as small shop aid that's going to help out, like a tool that is custom made to help out in certain process, or it could be as big as the whole, preparing for contingency operation and making sure everything is staged in case something goes wrong, a leak happens or something.
Wow.
So it's just all that.
Yeah, no,
it's never boring.
Yeah, no, it sounds like it's insane, to be honest.
Right.
Yeah, so I mean, you're kind of working on all these cool projects, right? So you probably have some sort of like scientific achievements, right, or like moments in your career that you're probably like super proud of, right? What are these moments or achievements?
So you might be surprised, but actually, I usually don't look back into what I've done. It's done. I celebrate it. I'm done. So I don't collect trophies.
Okay.
And I live for them. I live every day. So it's an adventure. And when you're like going on adventure, every day is an adventure. So you don't look back on what was in your adventure. You experience the adventure as it happening, right? So that's how I live life. There is one very proud moment, which is, there's many proud moments, right? But there's one that I could actually single out that really made me feel really humbled and very, I wouldn't say like proud, but so humbled that I really didn't think in a million years that is going to happen, and that it was really led by many synchronicities, and many people were involved who made it, who made suggestions, recommendations, and all that happened.
Right.
So last year, I actually spoken after the Artemis launch. Lithuanian national TV was looking for someone if some Lithuanians were watching, watching the launch, and I didn't see that. So someone told them that, look, there is someone who works there. So actually, I appeared on Lithuanian national TV on the Christmas Eve last year, talking about Artemis launch, the pictures and videos, and of course that was cleared with NASA. So that was such a proud moment of me, and it's really, really interesting that actually happened. I recorded it, or rather, that was a gift because my dad's birthday is in December as well. So I gave him that as a gift. I was like, Dad, I'm going to be on national TV talking in Lithuanian about Artemis launch. And so that was such a surprise for my dad. And that was a big one for me, because I realized that TV channel, this is the main channel in Lithuania. And when I saw him, I didn't even know. I was so humbled that I didn't want to tell even anybody. I was like, Mom, I'm going to be there. But, I don't know how to say it. Just keep it, because I didn't want like all that, because I didn't know how I'm going to react. Like I was just like, oh my gosh. And it was really proud. And one of the questions was there, what would you recommend to the people? And I literally told them, I was like, follow your passions, and that's what I'm really proud about, because that's my mission, to make sure I believe that if everybody follows their passions and they live what they believe, we would have peace, we would have love, we would have life, we would have great things in life. It's when the people don't do that or feel they cannot do that. That's when hard things happen. So long story short, when people start calling me and my social media started, I really just turned off for 2 days because I literally had to just be with myself because there was so much going on.
Right.
And when I heard the commercial of little preview that happened, and I was like, this is a channel. As a kid, I watched presidential elections. This is a channel. As a kid, I saw a Russian wall fall down. Mm-hmm. And this was big for me. This was really big, and I was on it. And not just on it. I was on it talking about something really important.
Right.
And it was science program, but it was really, really good science program.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, honestly, I would. I don't speak Lithuanian, but I would definitely love to see something like that. That just sounds like such a big achievement, right? So now let's kind of come back and talk a little bit about like your personal growth and just kind of some insights that you might have, right? So throughout your career in human factor and analysis, in your study of astrology and all of the diverse background that you have, what surprising discoveries have you made about yourself, particularly regarding about like, human abilities and limitations?
About myself. Well, since I'm studying humans, it's sort of myself as well, right?
But yeah.
Oh, surprising thing I discovered is that I would put myself through anything, like anything, to discover it. My curiosity could take me like anywhere. Like I completely blind, like I put blinders on, like I just go. So that's about me, I guess. When I discovered, I don't know if it was new or not. It's in my DNA as well. I'm Aries sun, so that has, if anybody knows astrology, so it's in my astro DNA. I'm Aries 0 degrees at the very beginning, so very cardinal. Nobody can say no. I'm just kidding. No, I am. I have other aspects that definitely negotiation is there, but it is really like I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to go through anything and experience anything. Sometimes a little bit more relentlessly than other people could or would. And it's not that I'm doing it just because I want some kind of fame or something. I'm doing it for curiosity. I'm doing it for discovery. I'm doing it because I just cannot not do. Mm-hmm. It's really what drives me. Now, as a general, from my experience, what I've discovered, and it's really without a shadow of a doubt at this point, that everything and anything could be explained and manipulated with energy. Everything. That's, it's our, when we're in alignment with our energetic DNA and energetic signature, right? The things that we brought into this life, that's when we're happiest. And that's what separates happy and unhappy, healthy and unhealthy, successful and not successful. It's not alignment with that energetic signature that we brought in and how we flow with it.
Yeah, I'm actually, so I do want to put a pin in that because I definitely want to learn more about like the alignment and everything. But one question I also did have was, you've worked on these like pretty significant missions and still kind of working on some of them, right? Are there any like aspirations for the future of like, space exploration and anything that's going on with the Kennedy Space Center?
My aspirations as far as space exploration. I don't have personal aspirations because this is sort of a community, right? Work. So my aspirations is to, I'm just making my aspirations for me to be the best at whatever I do that I can. And I don't limit myself to just human aspects. If I, this is sort of like a mindset of mine, right? I always empower people to speak up. I always speak up. It's through me. So if I'm always being me, and everybody knows me who, well, not everybody knows me, but I mean, everybody knows me who I truly am. I'm not different when I'm at Kennedy Space Center and when I'm working on my business. Of course, I'm doing very different things, right? Because I'm using different abilities and different knowledge. And that's really the reason, because I do not really employ any of what I'm employing in my business. And my passion is really what I'm doing with my business, my vertical mystic. And but Kennedy Space Centers are huge. It's very impactful, and I'm really, really happy that humanity is going back to space, that commercial programs are coming up as well, and that we're getting more and more people out there, because there's one thing that we're really excited about. It's not just discovery with the science that they bring back, because a lot of people actually think that the money goes out into space, but it doesn't. What happens is that there is a lot of science that's being done in the space. And, and again, I don't even know about everything, because a lot of, of that is a separate for a need to know situation. But there's a lot of biology, a lot of discoveries that were brought back, and inventions and technology happened because of the sciences being done on ISS, and that we're discovering from these space exploration, missions. So that's I'm really excited about James Webb Telescope. I really follow that. That's discovery stars. I can't wait till we see more, till we can hear things, not only see. Because I wanna hear sounds of stars.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
A vibration. Yeah. So because right now we can only see, and we see it really well right now compared to what we had with Hubble. And these are amazing, and just because we're receiving our sensory systems, right? We are receiving the energy of the sensory system. So that's brings me back to the missions, the commercial. We're bringing more and more people, and now more people can go and experience the space and look to Earth from space. Right. And when I was still back at PhD, actually, we did there's such thing. It's called the overview effect. And the overview effect is a cognitive shift that happens in the mind of astronaut or someone, an astronaut at that point, right? That looks at Earth from space. Is that a moment that shifts? And I had a privilege to interact with many, many astronauts who flew commercial, non-commercial, astronaut aircrafts. I had a privilege, really honor and privilege to interact with them and speak to them. And you're such an amazing human beings. All of them has such an amazing sense of humor, and they're so humble, and they're so smart, but so humble and so simple. And they have this love that, this energy, that generates. You can feel it when you're in their presence, and anybody could tell you, you can feel it. They have that vibration and that energy that acquired. So I actually really, really want to see a lot of big CEOs, a lot of really rich people flying to space, so they can actually bring back that shift, so they can actually create something more tangible.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Yeah, so I kind of want to stick to that for a second, right? Like, I'm curious to know a little bit more about, did you know, what some of these astronauts were like before you said it was the overview
effect. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of scientific, research papers on it, and it's a psychological cognitive shift. Essentially, it's documented. That happens. It's we have done a little bit. We actually simulated. Even simulation, you could see with EEGs, and there was such thing. So it's not before. It's it's from before to the after of the experience of seeing our Earth from the space. From there was something that shifts.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. No, that just seems really interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to definitely look into
read up about it.
Yeah, 100%. But so I kind of want to jump into what it was like being a woman in STEM, right? Especially within the space sector. Can you share the challenges you might have faced?
So this is really I have a funny story. So before Kennedy Space Center, I worked at the Siemens Energy. I mentioned I worked in the energy sector, and as I worked there at the same time, I was actually invited to speak at the American Nuclear Society annual meeting. So I spoke in Washington, D.C. And at the time I was married, and so I went there with my husband. And it was 13 years ago, literally 10 years ago, 2012. And it was 75th annual meeting in Washington. So in Washington D.C. they had a big gala, and of course everybody, especially people who speak were there, right? So as I was there with my husband, right? And we come in, and I'm very social. I'm very, I meet people very easily. I don't have issues. I'm really curious. Again, like that's the way I meet people. I'm really curious. So I meet people generally easy. And there was constant situation that even at one point I come in. It was of course it was men and females. It was couples, and a lot of very accomplished scientists from all over United States, and a lot of scientists were there, and so we were talking, and well, as we come in, everybody, like everybody, would think that they start to talk to my husband, thinking that he's the one.
Oh wow.
Something. I was like, so what do you do? I was like, it's her. So at one point he was like, look.
Like, immediately, yeah, just like, oh, she's the one you want to talk to. No, look over there.
And my husband is like tall, and I'm just the other day shorter, my tree is 6'5", and I was like, oh, it's actually her. She was in law, So yeah, so it was so funny. I was cracking up because literally even females and males, and of course after that we had to start conversation, everything is like, but yes, it was nonstop for every single new person, unless the person comes in there and they already know that I'm talking, when they realize it, right? If there's a circle, but yes. So that was like one of the funny ones. So that's my experience. I really didn't have a harsh experience at all.
Okay.
I've been blessed with really, really good bosses, amazing bosses. When most of them were male, not all of them, but most of them were male, but they really didn't have a bias, and they really treated everyone as what It's not about what gender you are. So so I really had a great experience, and at the same time, I really don't have a mindset, because when I grew up in USSR, back in Lithuania, right, USSR portion, and then Lithuania, actually Lithuanian women are amazing in math and the science and STEM. So it was actually opposite.
Oh wow, okay.
So yeah, so when I came here, I was like, what are you talking about? Men are better. I was like, what are you talking about? And in reality, psychologically, there is no difference, really.
Right. Yeah.
But that's that's. I mean, I was like, no, it's backwards. What are you talking about? And because those are statistics that were there, But so yeah, so I don't have that. I don't have personally that bias. I don't expect that, but I don't think it exists anymore. At Kennedy, it really we have a lot of females, have very diverse, general workforce is extremely diverse, and there is zero. There's zero. There's actually a lot of leadership in female leadership, a lot. Even our flight control director is female. I mean, we're director, center director is female too. I have a lot of females. My manager is female as well.
That's so interesting. Yeah, like, first, like, I appreciate the perspective, because, I guess there is that kind of like that stigma there, right? Like that generally people think like, oh, it is a male dominated field. But yeah, it's so interesting to hear this other.
In a global arena, it exists. But I also taught cross-cultural psychology and prejudice stuff back when I was at UCF, University of Central Florida, here when I was still a PhD year. So I'm very much for diversity and all these things, but there's biases that actually grow usually they stem from the culture. So there is when I worked at Siemens, and I worked in global sector. So in Siemens Energy global sector. So we actually oversaw all the regions, including UAE, Middle East, and Asia. And so those countries actually, they still have a huge bias. So when I delivered something scientific, some model, something that I needed to deliver, usually I said, if there was someone if it needs to be presented, it's better if it's delivered by mail, because it's going to be received better. So I actually gave that advice as, it's like, look, I can provide this information, and but but it's better if you can deliver it by a male person, just because
Right.
it's going to be better received. It's just the way it is. So you want to work with that essentially. But yeah, and a lot of times, because my name is so unique, and we don't write Miss or Mrs. at the time, at least. When the email comes through, usually people will call it Mister, and I was like, I don't care if you call him Mister. So, listen, my
That's cool.
message gets through. I'm good.
Well, I'm glad that, like, again, like there
So
isn't this, there wasn't these challenges that you had to face, right? In the
I have a
very,
lot of funny, like a lot of funny experiences like that. Like there was actually a manager of Middle East region. He would call me Mister, Mister, Mister when we had actually a national meeting, so all the regional managers, and we organized the training. He came in and he saw me. I was like, I'm sorry. Called you Mister. I was like, that's fine.
So let's go ahead and shift a little bit, right? I kind of want to now jump into more of the like the intersection of of the science and astrology, right? And kind of blending that and the alternative healing. So how does your background in human behavior and psychology enhance your personal interest in astrology, and in what ways do you integrate this knowledge with the alternative healing modalities that you practice in your business? With empirical mystic.
Mm-hmm. So everything is very, very dependent on, this is human factors. Technology and the tool is only as good as the user.
Mm.
It's the truth across the board. This is actually human factor. That's why human factors exist, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, so the astrology or astrological, analysis, whatever you want to call it, it's actually very, very intricate, and there's a lot of information in there. But it's only as good as the user. If you don't know how to interpret it, if you're going to be biased, and it's always going to be, when someone is interpreting anything, there's always going to be a certain amount of bias on the person. So it's very important to be very impartial. So I use that. And that's where scientific portion of my mind, I guess, comes in. I'd really live between the two, or rather in both areas. I can put myself more into logic, and I can turn myself more. I can use both sides of my brain. I have neither or. If where it's not more comfortable, it depends. I'm more comfortable usually in analytical. If I do science, I cannot work two at the same time. But I also gonna be very creative when I'm actually designing the model or doing the research. And by knowing and understanding how these modalities work, and experiencing them myself and using them everywhere and really observing and all of that, I'm actually better at researching them. Because there's a lot of research out there that you have a researcher who knows how to test the model and how to do the science portion, but they induce a lot of error just because they don't know that that the energy of the facilitator, it actually influences, for example, or some other things and aspects that you would only know if you actually experience and know and use the modalities and you immerse in it. But that's not the only reason. I really know, I don't just believe, I know that these things work, and that's part of my discovery, and discovery through myself, through experiences, through what I see, through what I read, and everything is really interconnected heavily. So I use all of them in my coaching, in my flow coaching, and all of that. For me, Astro DNA, what I call it, and I do as astrological assessment as well as human design, which is also based on that. It's a little different system, but it's extremely well designed system as well. I use very as a basic, as a background for any coaching I do, because that actually cuts the time and makes accuracy so much more profound. Now, it is not predictive. So I'm not gonna, these things will give you, they will give you what you brought here, but these give you only the potentials. We have free will, so
Right.
we are allowed to choose. And when I meet a person, they're adults, so they have many, many choices already that they made, right? So where they are in that spectrum of the choice, it could vary. I cannot say, well, you were here, or you were here, or you're here. I can tell you at that time you had certain experiences that was very impactful and it shifted your life. I can tell you that. Because that is an energy that shows up. For example, right? I can see what the talents are. what people are need to work on, what they brought into this world as their gifts and the natural to them. I can tell what they need to expand on and what their mission is, and all these things are extremely important when people are confused, and that helps them streamline what what they need to do, and then I give them and then work together, because in coaching you never tell people what to do.
Right.
You always work with them, and this ultimately the person's choice. So what I'm here is to guide, and that's what I do with that. And in the research, I use energy. Again, I've seen so many patterns in the certain signatures of people, personal astro DNA, and modalities that they work or don't work for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I test specifically that right now, because originally, so providing specificity, because for example, there's sound healing, right? Not all sound healing is good for everybody. Breathing in breath healing, not all breath are good for everybody. If you have too much fire in your chart, like I do, fire breath won't be good for you. It's gonna put you overboard. Just as natural, right? It would be logical, right? But people don't even think about it.
Right.
And they just go for it. And that's why there was such a confusion in that area, because people just go and delve and deep and they say, well, they either get hurt or think they don't work. It doesn't work for them or whatever else, right? But these are extremely powerful modalities. And again, also very understanding and knowing of how those modalities work together is also very important. But you can't really know that as well until you know each modality individually. Right. So I work with many healers.
Is there anything else that you can kind of tell me about, just like, how this all kind of works, right? Especially to given someone like, I've heard about like my big three and stuff, right? Like my son's a Sagittarius, my rising is Scorpio, and then my moon is a Libra, right? So like how can anybody take like that at its like purest form and learn anything about like astrology from that?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so these are these three things that you mentioned. They are big three. So it's a big, just one, just a little dip into it, right? Because every single the chart is complex. If you would look at astrologer's chart, you would say, "Oh my gosh, I don't even know what the heck is in it," right? I heard that all the time. so yes. And I study even, I know even right now medical astrology. So there is a very, very precise space astrology, all kinds of things. So every single planet has a specific angle to another planet, specific location, all of that, right? So you can tell a lot of things. That's why it's usually for astrology, you need specifics. Now, these three things, what you mentioned, they pretty much give you a little bit general idea of who you are. So sun sign, is who you really truly are in your core. Is that who you are, and people who know you, who close to you, people know you as your sun sign, because they have seen your core and your soul, essentially, right? Because you opened up. Now, if you're a Scorpio rising, you're not so easy to open up. But
interesting.
Because that's what persona is. That's what you project to your world, and that's really usually actually how you look like as well. It's your external attributes, your body, because that's also a rule to your first house, which is your body. Right? First house, because there are 12 houses, and those are different areas of your life and how you develop, essentially. So now it's also very important that sometimes there is ascendant, but if there is planets in that house or close to the ascendant, those will shade somehow and give the flavor to that ascendant. So if you would have like I don't know, like Mercury or Uranus, like if you are, for example, if you're a Scorpio, but if you have Uranus in the first house, that actually would shade your personality heavily. And Uranus it's very like innovative, very unique. So it would give so much different flavor, like more like electric flavor. Like each planet carries energetic signature, not like good, bad, kind of thing. There's some astrologers out there who talk about it, and I totally shun from them because it's absolutely nonsense. There is no good or bad energy. There is only a spectrum. So where you flow between that energy is really your free will. And yes, there is a harder aspects, which are essentially harder to deal with, but it's not like aspects to each energies or harder or harsher per se, right? They're stronger, or there was a lighter, and they're just different signatures. They're different signatures. Like you would have a lemon flavor versus you would have a ketchup. I don't know, just giving like these are different flavors, right? So it's the same goes with signatures. So and each of them has certain attributes. So so as a ascendant sign, if you're Scorpio, I'm surprised you want to be on podcast, but probably a Mercury somewhere in the Libra. So Mercury is the language and the talk and the mind.
Okay.
So so I would have to look into that. There's probably some connection there, but the drive behind your podcast actually it makes a whole lot of sense because you're curious and you're curious about things what makes people drive, and that's totally psychology is ruled by Scorpio. Astrology is always too. Well, not astrology, the researchers. So
Right.
So it's totally definitely you. Now, moon is how we feel. So what we need to feel, feel good, essentially, feel safe. So it's our feelings. So if you have heard anyone say we live by the sun, we feel by the moon, that's where it comes from.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
a very short intro into it.
Yeah, you definitely have like piqued my interest. Like I'm curious to learn more about it, right? Especially too about the like the houses and the ascendants and stuff like that. Because that still just seems pretty interesting to me. That like you can still like pick out pieces of people's personalities just by looking at this, right? So I kind of want to jump into a little bit of like your personal interests and like hobbies, right? So you sound like you have a lot, right? Given your diverse background and everything. So, I kind of want to see if you could tell us a little bit about like, some of those personal interests or hobbies outside of, your professional life from, whether it be your own business and also to from the Kennedy Space Center.
So, okay. So this question is, I don't know how to separate that. What is a personal, what is not personal? Tell me about it.
Okay.
No. So besides what I already mentioned, I also dance ballroom.
Okay.
And so that is one thing that I absolutely love. And I have Mars and Pisces, so that has to do with that, right? Mars and Pisces is creative, and Mars is energy. So so it's really, I love to dance regardless. I just dance, right? But I dance ballroom, and I danced when I was little, and I dance right now. I don't compete right now, but because I have very different priorities. But I do dance whenever I have a chance. I dance, and I have also my son. So there's a lot of my other activities that surround around my 8-year-old. So it is karate, it is basketball, and a lot of that stuff, which I also love. Actually, basketball is Lithuanian second religion, and he's born with some genes, so I love that. And karate, I love martial arts as well, which also has to do with Pisces, with Mars and Pisces. I love martial arts. I also practice myself, but I don't practice like actual martial art. I actually do cardio kind of version.
Yeah.
But it's energy movement. All martial arts has to do with energy, has to do with your confidence, has to do how you do your body. Because, if you have a stick, which they use, it's called bow staff, right? In your hands, a stick, just a stick. But if you know how to use it, that's a different story, right?
Right.
I do archery as well.
Oh, nice.
But I like medieval things. I do archery, traditional. I have a traditional bow, not compound, meaning not automated. I think it's too easy. Anybody could do that. So it has to do, again, the same thing. It's called Zen archery. It has to do with your whole alignment with your own body and your own energy field, and that's how you actually develop the strategy. It's all about that. If you're out of alignment, there is no strategy to help you. It's just the truth. I experienced that many times. And if you are aligned, you can shoot moving target and you're gonna nail it.
Oh wow.
It's just how it is. So all of those martial arts I love for that reason. So those are other things that I love. But really anything that has to do just what we spoke already. There is a you might have heard, like you said, have you should have three hobbies, like
I,
one to keep you fit or in shape or healthy, and another one make you money, and third one keep you creative, right? So I don't compartmentalize them. A lot of them actually fit in all three of them for me, and but if you can find, you really, everybody should have that. If they don't, then you're missing out, and usually those are usually covering more than one for most people too.
Yeah, no, I love that. Like, I think you're 100% right. I forget where I learned that. It might have been like on a podcast or something, but yeah, I totally agree. Like for me, it was always like, yeah, my creative and physical was dancing always for the most part. And then for like financial and also creativity, was learning how to program and just, being able to create anything with to do with tech. But yeah, the last question I want to jump into for you today is, and for any advice, right? So what advice would you give to young people, especially, women that want to jump into the STEM field, right? Like what advice would you give them about, pursuing the passion and just going for it, or just any advice you can give them?
Okay. Well, if the woman wants to go into STEM field, usually they go.
Mhm.
They are actually not afraid.
Right.
That's really the truth. I actually mentored the Girl Scouts recently, and I was invited to mentor it. They had a convention, their convention in Orlando, actually, where I live, and I was invited to mentor, be one with the mentors. So it was really awesome to see young girls, and there was different ages out there, and they're just passionate. They just want to go for it, go for it, go for it. So I think it's already getting like out there, but generally, and that's one advice for everybody. STEM field, not STEM field, doesn't really matter. Just to follow the passions, like whatever drives you, just follow that. And if you don't know, if you're so confused because your parents are pushing that, and you think, oh my god, what I'm gonna do, because I love this, I don't know, whatever that is, some art maybe, I don't know what without prejudices. There's all kinds of prejudices. It really depends on the on where the background is. I mean, the prejudices will never go away. Never go away. It's just the truth. As long, because people make meanings, people make stories. So whatever their story and background is, they create these prejudices in their head. And really, there is no such thing as being a bad profession or being a good profession.
Okay.
Being this one we're gonna get you somewhere, and this one not gonna get you anywhere. That doesn't exist, and I think it's just already been shown, like recently, especially with a lot of people creating careers out of really strange, really really strange things that people never even thought about mixing together. And they make a lot of money, and there is a niche, and that's it. So the key is to really do what you love, because when you only if you do what you love, you're going to be successful. And I think Steve Jobs says that, actually. So, but whoever said that, I'm sure more than one person said that before, because it's true. Every single person who did great things, they followed their passions, whatever they're passionate about, whatever it drives them, whatever they're curious about, they followed that, and they went there, and they really did that without caring what other people think. And if that makes them happy, that's success. That's really success, because if you are out there said, okay, I'm going to work for Kennedy Space Center, but you're going to study something you hate, and you're going to hate studying it, then you're going to hate working it, because you're going to need to work it too. So you better don't do it then, just because, I don't know, somebody around you said that it's a really good place to be. But then if you want to be like, look at me, like I didn't think about working there, right? But I'm a psychologist, and if somebody back in Lithuania said psychology, oh, you want to work at Kennedy Space Center, you better don't study psychology, you should study physics or whatever else. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know, mathematics. I mean, I could have studied physics too, but physics was too rigid at the time. There was no quantum physics, unfortunately, so or was very little back in Lithuania. So I didn't want that kind of physics. So I'm very happy what I studied, and it led me to the place that human factors was not even there at the time. So what you create is, it's what you create your life when you live a happy life. So when you're passionate, they ask for you.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, Jurate, thank you so much. That was lovely. Yeah. So before I end the show, there's always one last question I like to ask people. It's just a random question I pull from a deck of cards. So my question for you is, who is your favorite Hollywood villain or villainess,
Oh
and
my
why?
god. Oh my god. I so don't know Hollywood. I failed that long time ago. I did. Oh my god. I was like in the Bachelor, somebody did a test. We had like on some kind of pop culture, and I was like, I failed every single question because
Oh no.
I don't know anything about that. Ask me something more important.
Well, I mean, do you have like a favorite villain,
I'm
whether
thinking.
it's like a book or anything?
I'm thinking. Let's see. Villain. Hmm. I don't know. Say villain. Oh, okay. So, it would be, and I don't know if it's Hollywood. From the Star Wars.
Okay.
So the Darth Vader,
Oh wow, nice. Why is that?
because that really shows how choices determine life.
Hmm.
So, and how it's really up to you who you want to be. He wasn't really born one, right? But he became one by choice, just because he was seduced and fear was a culprit. So that's really why I like that. It's not really us him specifically, but what he represents and what the
Right.
message comes from his life.
Yeah. Wow. Honestly, wasn't expecting that answer, but I love that answer. But yeah, I guess last question. Like where can people find you if they want to find you?
So you can find me Instagram. I have empirical mystic. So, and it's my name in there as well. And LinkedIn at this point. The website will be published soon. It's undercover still, is being populated with much information there. So, but a lot of things that I research and some visuals that I share there.
Mm.
So it's Empirical Mystic or Jurate Wolfe, Jurate, Wolfe then E. And you can connect also on LinkedIn. So those are two major platforms that I share currently on.
Well, Jurate, thank you so much. I'll make sure to put that in the show notes, but it was a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.